Today's chapter is going to be Chapter 4, Ideas, and the overall topic is the traits of reading and writing, and we will focus on ideas in this chapter. So again, as we discussed previously in previous chapters, ideas is the first trait that we are going to discuss. So why is ideas the first topic? So make sure you are aware of that because we will be talking about it. So the quote for this chapter is, "A man's mind is stretched by a new idea or sensation and never shrinks back to its original dimensions," by Oliver Wendell Holmes Sr. So what does this quote mean? So how would you explain the quote by Holmes? Next question, how can a mind be stretched by a new idea or sensation? And also, what does it mean that a mind will never shrink back to its original dimensions? So think about what this quote means and answer it. So within this chapter, there are a couple of learning outcomes. The first learning outcome is reading for a topic. The second one is selecting a topic for writing. The third one is reading for main ideas. The fourth is establishing a main idea for writing. The fifth is reading for supporting details. Learning outcome 6, drawing inferences. Learning outcome 7, choosing supporting details in writing. So learning outcome 1, reading for topics. A topic can be defined as what the writing is about. So before we spoke about what a topic is, so what's another word you can use for a topic? So for example, your topic when reading is the first step to identify when reading is to identify what the topic is. So there are a couple ways that you can do that. The topic can be either identified in the title, in the first few sentences, or in the first few paragraphs. So some examples are on the right-hand side in the graphic. So you have a topic can be a or an. It can be a person. So for example, if you wanted to discuss President Barack Obama. It can be a place, if you want to say New Orleans. It can be an object, it could be a rose. It can be an idea, love, and it can be an animal, so dove. So these are examples of some topics. So selecting a topic, that is learning outcome 2. So with that, choose a topic. So writing is often tied to subjects that you are studying. So when you're writing about something, it needs to be a subject that you are studying or something that you are going to study. Take ownership of almost any topic you develop in your writing. So what that means is, although you may not always have a choice of what you're going to write about, take ownership of it. So choose the aspect of something that you want to write about. The next thing, most assignments will identify a general subject area as a starting point. So you'll start with a general thing and then you'll get a little more specific. Always select a topic that interests you. That's the most important. So why would you want to select a topic that interests you? Be prepared to discuss that. But just as a starting point, you want to choose a topic that interests you because it'll be easier to write about. When something is interesting to you, you'll be interested in doing the research on it and you'll be more able to talk about it. Another thing is to be aware that if it does not interest you, it will be difficult to do your best work. So you can do it, but your work might not be that great. So figure 4.1 for selecting a topic. Analyze the cause and effect of a pet-related problem in urban areas. So the general subject area would be pet-related problem in urban areas. So that's what you're wanting to look at generally. So narrowing the subject, providing a space for dogs. So you might decide that you want to talk about that to eradicate the problem of pets in urban areas. Then the more specific topic, development of dog parks. So specifically you want to talk about maybe ways to develop a dog park, places or locations to develop a dog park, but that's more specific. So you can see we started off generally, pet-related problems in urban areas, and then we got to specific, development of dog parks. Selecting the topic continues, so searching strategies. If you have trouble selecting a specific topic, review your class notes, or you can also search the internet. Some more things you can do. You can cluster, and this is where you begin with the general subject in the middle and cluster related words around it. So if you look at figure 4.2, that's an example of a cluster. So they started out with a general idea, which is college budget cuts, and then they went into specifics of that, which is everything around it. You can also do a free write. A free write is where you write nonstop for 5 to 10 minutes. You don't worry about grammar or spelling or any of those things. You don't edit. You just write for 5 to 10 minutes to see what comes to mind. You can also develop a dialogue. This is where you create a conversation between yourself and another person and see what themes stand out. So these are some options: clustering, free writing, and developing a dialogue. These are ways that you can select a topic if you're unsure of what you want to discuss. Learning outcome 3, reading for main ideas. So a lot of people struggle with finding the main ideas of a reading. So some ways that you're going to do that is by looking at the special feature, part, or fill in about the topic that the author wants to emphasize. So again, finding the main idea of a reading, you can look at a special feature, the part, or fill in about the topic that the author emphasizes. This can tell you a lot about a piece of writing. The main idea of a paragraph is usually found in the topic sentence. Again, the main idea of a paragraph is in the topic sentence, and the main idea of an essay is usually found in the thesis statement. So again, remember, for a paragraph or the smaller writing, it's going to be the topic sentence. For an essay or a larger writing, it's going to be a thesis statement. So your main idea can also be found in a summary statement, which is going to be near the end of the text. It can be implied or suggested rather than directly stated. So a main idea can also be implied, and that's where they don't tell you flat out, this is the main idea. It's varied and longer, more complex essays. So more complex essays may start out with a lot of background information, may pose a couple of questions, and then get to the main idea. So for longer pieces of work, it can be varied. So more of reading for main ideas. In informational essays, the main idea tells you what feature of the topic or pattern of organization is going to be addressed. So for example, teenagers use and abuse drugs for many reasons, some of which are low self-esteem, parental neglect, and peer pressure. So in this informational essay, this is going to tell you that the pattern of organization is going to be cause and effect. You would know that because it says teenagers, reasons, and then it gives you a list. In argumentative essays, many reasons identify the claim about a topic that the writer will argue. So for example, the usage of steroids in high school sports is increasing daily and must be stopped immediately. So if you see something like where the author gives you an opinion but does not state directly their opinion, must be stopped immediately, this lets you know it's going to be an argumentative essay, because the other end of this is that the use of steroids do not need to be stopped immediately. In a narrative essay, the main idea tells you how the writer feels about the experience or the event. So for example, I never truly realized the effects my parents' divorce had on me until I started having marriage problems of my own. So this person is telling you that they're going to tell you a story about the problems that their parents had, and then how that translates into the marriage problems they have in their current relationship. So again, the main idea is expressed within the topics. All right, so to find the main idea, there are a couple of steps you can follow. The first one, review the title again. You can look at headings, and you can also look at the first and last paragraph. Now, the way that the first and last paragraph will help you is that the first paragraph should contain the thesis statement, and then the last paragraph is going to restate the thesis statement as well as summarize. So you can find the main idea within any of those, because the thesis statement should tell you exactly what the reading will be about. The second one, read the opening part for a general understanding of the topic. So the opening part is going to be the first couple of paragraphs. So that should give you a general understanding of the topic before you even get to the body paragraphs. You want to look for a sentence or two in an opening paragraph that directs the writing. So you can look for the thesis statement as well as sentences around that. They're going to direct the writing. Also look for something that is underlined, highlighted, or write down. Also, you can underline, highlight, or write down this sentence, the thesis statement. So if for longer pieces of writing, if you forget what it is, you can go back and look at this, and it can kind of refresh you or refocus you. Continue reading to see if that sentence makes sense as the main idea. So if you underline something, you think, okay, this is the main idea, then you start reading and you say, okay, well, they never mentioned this. They never mentioned this. That's probably not the main idea. So you either need to go back and find the actual main idea, or if you're maybe doing a peer review, then that probably means your classmate did not include a main idea. If you're thinking changes, write down the new main idea. So again, if you read through it and you see that, okay, well, maybe this was not the main idea because it was never mentioned again, if you're thinking changes about what the main idea is, write down the new one. Learning outcome 4 is establishing a main idea for writing. So your writing will go much more smoothly if necessary planning and pre-writing is completed. So if you remember when we talked about pre-writing, so if you do an outline, if you use graphic organizers, your writing will go smoothly if you do this as a process rather than just jumping right into writing. In order to do this, you want to make sure that you brainstorm ideas about your topic. So here are some brainstorming ideas to help you establish a main idea for your writing. So you can use the 5 W's, which are going to answer who, what, when, where, and why about your topic, and how to generate more information. You can do a list or listing, and this is where you list your thoughts and questions about your topic and record your ideas nonstop for as long as you can. Another thing you can do a cluster, as we discussed earlier. This is where you begin with your topic in the middle and cluster ideas related around it. So again, if you think about a web, you have your topic in the middle and then all the details coming out of it. Focus free writing. So again, write freely on your topic for 5 to 10 minutes and see what thoughts and feelings you can uncover. So when you're doing this, you're wanting to see what the themes are, and that's going to help you figure out exactly what you want to talk about and narrow your focus. And then, of course, dialogue. This is where you discuss your topic with another person and see what you come up with. So learning outcome 4, establishing a main idea for your writing. So you can also do questioning, and questions can guide your search for additional information about a topic. So for example, if you look at table 4.1, you have the problems. And so you can ask yourself as a description, what is the problem? Then the function, who or what is affected by it, history, what or who caused it, and then the value, why is it significant? Again, you don't want to just be talking about something, just be talking about it. So why is it significant? That's important. So if you're looking at policies, what are the most important features? What is the policy meant to do? What brought this policy about? And what are its advantages and disadvantages? So if you were looking at, let's say we talked about illegal immigration. So what are the most important features of this? You can answer those questions, and that will help you focus on what you want to talk about. What is the policy meant to do? So let's just say we talked about mass deportation. So what is the policy of mass deportation designed to do, or what is it meant to do? History. What brought this policy about? So why is mass deportation even something that we would consider for policy? And then value. What are its advantages and what are its disadvantages? So what would be some advantages of mass deportation for people who are here illegally, and what would be disadvantages of this? So these will help you when you ask and then answer these questions. These will help you generate ideas. Concepts. What is the concept or idea? Then the function, why is it important? History, when did it start? And then the value, what value does it have? So asking questions can help you figure out or focus in on a main idea. When you're choosing a focus, a strong focus or main idea helps you decide what information to include and in what order. Forming a thesis statement. A thesis is a controlling idea in an essay. So again, the central idea of your essay. And this is the topic plus the opinion that gives you the thesis. So what the topic is, your specific topic, and then why it matters or why anyone should care. So learning outcome 5 is reading for supporting details. So supporting details are used to develop the main idea. So again, you have your main idea, supporting details are what it stands on. So you have major details that explain or illustrate the main idea. So remember, you're wanting to show rather than tell. That's what your major details will do. They're going to illustrate the main idea. Your minor details, they complete or clarify the major details. So if you think about having your main idea, then your major details will support that, and then your minor details will support the major. So here's some type of details often included in writing. Facts and statistics, anecdotes, and another word for an anecdote is a short story. Quotations, references, analysis, explanations, examples, definitions, reasons, reflections, and descriptions. So be prepared to give me a couple of these when asked. So reading for supporting details continued. It is also important to evaluate the details that you read. So it's not enough to just throw in details. You need to evaluate them and make sure that they actually work for what you're trying to say. So for example, if you were to say, most students believe that Texas Tech is a great university. Then if you followed that with a statistic that said 32% of students think that Texas Tech is a great university, you cannot say most and then use the statistic 32% because they don't support each other. Most is going to be at least 50. So then your statistic cannot be 32. That's not going to work. So you want to make sure you use the following criteria to decide if you can trust the details within your reading. The source is a textbook, or the reading comes from a respected publisher, periodical, or a domain, such as .edu, .org, or .gov. Again, these are domain names that are generally going to be the truth because they have nothing to gain from the information. They're just putting it out there. So again, credible domain names will end in .edu, which is education, .org, which is for nonprofit organizations, and .gov, which is for government organizations. So the author is identified and writing in the field of expertise. So usually if you have someone that is a doctor of something, a professor, or an expert, then that's probably going to be credible because they are an expert in the field that they are discussing. The topic is covered in depth, information is balanced and timely, and reading is clear and logical. So if you were wanting to use something as a source and it's not logical, you probably should not use it because it's not going to be credible. Learning outcome 6, drawing inferences. An inference is a logical conclusion made about something that is not actually stated. So again, an inference is a logical conclusion that is not actually stated. So to make a thoughtful inference, the first thing you do is carefully read and reread the text. The second thing, identify the main idea and supporting details. And then third, ask, what other conclusions can I draw? So what can you infer about these pictures? So if you see the picture on the bottom left-hand side, you see people running. What can you infer from that? It's just a picture. There are no words. So you can draw an inference. What can you infer from that first picture? What about the second picture with the two little girls? What can you infer about that picture? And then the third picture where there's a person laying down, what can you infer about that third picture? So be able to discuss this. Learning outcome 7, choosing supporting details for your writing. So when you're planning a piece of writing, you're going to need to, 1, select a topic. Again, remember it needs to be one that interests you. This is going to make your writing a whole lot easier. 2, gather details about the topic and then arrange them by importance. It's necessary to arrange them by importance because, again, if you remember trait number 2, organization, it must be organized in order to be coherent. Number 3, form a thesis or a focus for your writing. And then number 4, decide how best to use the details. Now let's review. Question number 1, where should you look in a reading or selection to find the topic? So if you want to find the topic of something, where should you look in the reading? Question number 2, what is the main idea within a reading? Question 4, what are 4 types of supporting details? Question number 3. Question number 4, what is an inference? And then question number 5, why is it important to include plenty of details within your writing? So make sure that you are able to answer these questions and some of the other questions posed within the PowerPoint. Again, this is chapter number 4, the traits of writing, ideas.